everyone has been given a teacher whose wisdom and help far exceed whatever contributions an earthly therapist can provide. So really, it's not us. What we can do is we can teach forgiveness, but we can't make them forgive. We can't change their mind for them. But we need to have the tool, because well, actually somewhere it says forgiveness must be learned. It's not inherent. Love is inherent. Love is our natural state. Forgiveness is not, because this is an illusion. Why would we have forgiveness as our natural state in heaven? Because it's not needed there. But we need it here in the separated state. So we can remind our brothers, as I said, with words or with actions, or even with stillness, body language, whatever. And the other quote is, if any two are joined, He, that's the Holy Spirit, is there. It does not matter what their purpose is, but they must share it wholly to succeed. Which means both the client and the therapist must have the intention for healing, at least. And when you both join in that intention, I mean, Spirit is always there. Not about inviting the Spirit in. The Holy Spirit is there. We just have to open to it and be willing to allow the healing to occur. It's our willingness, actually, that does the healing. The breath helps to release the blocks and bring them up to the surface, but the real healing is at the mind level. And that's what Spirit does. It makes the miracle happen in our mind. Our willingness is allowing the miracle to happen. A madman, that's all of us, a madman will defend his own illusions because in them he sees his own salvation. And this is both you and her. Thus, I'll say he because that's how it's written, thus he will attack the one who's trying to save him from them, believing that he is attacking them. Right. This curious cycle of attack and defense is one of the most difficult problems with which the psychotherapist must deal. In fact, this is his central task, the core of psychotherapy. The therapist is seen as one who is attacking the patient's most cherished possession, the picture of himself. And since this picture has become the patient's security as he perceives it, the therapist cannot but be seen as a real source of danger, to be attacked and even killed. This is why Jesus was killed. He was attacking people's most precious possession, the picture of themselves. The psychotherapist then has a tremendous responsibility. He must meet attack without attack, and therefore without defense. It is his task to demonstrate that defenses are not necessary and that defenselessness is strength. So even if you are very still and listening to Spirit, you might still get attacked like Jesus did, right? So eventually, as we get more and more healed, we're able to become more and more defenseless. So when someone attacks you, you can respond to that in many different ways, either silently or thank you for sharing, or you might think of something appropriate to say. As I say, it all depends on that moment with that individual and with yourself in that moment. What I've noticed, I mean, I've had a number of people attack me quite viciously over the years. I've noticed it seems to have stopped. I'm waiting for a Jonas to show up in my life.
You better be prepared.
you try and change people, the more you will get attacked. But the interesting thing is that we don't need to change them. That's the error, actually. Really, our job as a therapist is to join with them, to see the Christ in them, to see that they're totally acceptable exactly as they are right now.
But even though you said earlier that you can't talk too much or something, you were actually very good last time we met that at your house to kind of like go beyond, and that's
Go beyond what?
go beyond the story.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you really?
Okay.
What is it? What is it really about? Not just the storytelling, because I have the same with. I don't want to hear just the story. Then I want to go behind it, and then so even though you can't talk too much, you still guide it to go beyond it and stop just the talking.
We're a little bit back to this first thing about the Holy Spirit's help. The truth is that we don't know the whole picture in any situation. And there are times when the most loving thing to do is let them tell their story. And if you're still stuck with your mother speaking a lot of stories, you can't allow that to happen, because all you want to do is get the hell out of there. Right? Once you've healed that in yourself, then you can start to listen to see whether what's most helpful for this person is actually to tell that story, because they're too afraid to go beyond it, right? And we as individuals can't know the answer to that. So we just have to sit and listen and get inner guidance. And sometimes it's about saying a little something funny that takes them out of it. Sometimes it's about saying absolutely nothing, and sometimes it's about saying, come on, stop your story. It all depends where the other person is in that moment, and also where you are. And it's a refinement that very gradually gets easier and easier. I'm still learning that one, because if I'm a bit tired, I don't want to listen to a story, even if that's the most loving thing to do. The psychotherapist is a leader in the sense that he walks slightly ahead of the patient and helps him to avoid a few of the pitfalls along the road by seeing them first. This implies that we're the same as our client, but in this particular field we've been doing it just a little longer. That's all. Ideally, he's also a follower. For one, with a capital O, in other words, the Holy Spirit, for one should walk ahead of him to give him light to see. Without this one, without the Holy Spirit, both will merely stumble blindly onto nowhere. So if I'm a therapist and I think, I know what to do here, we're just going blindly together. If I don't allow guidance to come in, then we get nowhere. No one can pay for therapy. This is a quote from the pamphlet. For healing is of God, and he asks for nothing. So we're not getting paid for our therapy, despite what we think. It is, however, part of his plan that everything in this world be used by the Holy Spirit to help in carrying out the plan. So being a rebirth or whatever is part of that help. And this is really the answer to your unstated question. Even an advanced therapist has some earthly needs while he's here. So really, we're getting paid for our time. Maybe the rent that you have to pay for renting a room or whatever. It's not for the therapy. I'll just add the other one. One rule should always be observed. No one should be turned away because he cannot pay. No one is sent to you by accident. So one can always negotiate or do some form of exchange or whatever, if people really want to do the work. And this is what the Course says, at least. Not all therapists would agree with that, however. And again, our job is just to keep removing our blocks.
Yeah.
Because the more of our blocks that we remove, the more still we become, and the more we simply know what to do, because we are in our right minds already. So keep coming back to ourselves. Just notice everything, all the attachment you have to him being happy, all the attachment you have to thinking you need to give him guidance, all the attachment to you thinking that he needs help at all.